All right, it is now 6 o'clock. This meeting of the Middletown Historic Commission for April 18th of 2024 is called to order. Can we begin with the roll call?
Roger Daniel. Here. Michelle Perkins.
Here.
Rachel Rutherford.
Here.
Matt Dixon.
Here.
Corey Carter. Indy Brickler.
Here.
Jennifer Chin.
Here.
You have quorum.
All right, can we begin with the swearing in of the witnesses? Would all those that are going to give testimony before the Middletown Historic Commission tonight, please raise your right hand and swear or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, the first matter on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the meetings of January 18th and March 21st of 2024. I believe that the changes were made to the January 18th minutes. Anybody see anything that needed further changes on those?
Nothing major.
Okay, do we have a motion with respect to the January 18th minutes?
I'll move for acceptance.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The minutes of the January 18th, 2024 meeting of the Middletown Historic Commission are approved. The next is the March 21st minutes. They are something of a mess. And without being able to reference the audio, I could make speculative changes to a lot of it, but I wouldn't be certain that it is accurate. But as it is, I'm not sure that it's in any fit state to be approved or disapproved. Did anybody else have the same sense?
A lot of typos, but I didn't see anything I consider major.
Okay. I mean, there are typos to the extent that a lot of it seems to have been converted into basically gibberish, but from my point of view. I mean,
If there's changes that you'd like to make, you could email those to me, and then we can bring them back.
well, the
Discuss them,
problem
or we can
is that
discuss
trying
them
to
now.
convert gibberish back into sense is difficult to do without access to the audio that is from which the gibberish was derived. Otherwise, I'm just putting words in people's mouth and speculating as to what from my memory as to what I think may have been said.
I can also share the audio file with you as well.
Okay. Anybody else like to have a go at it?
I was halfway through the meeting, so I have the back half, so I was late.
Okay.
So yeah, if you want to send it out to everybody, just make it simple.
All right. So do we have a motion with respect to the March 21st meeting minutes?
I guess what we're talking about is just delaying approval.
Yeah. I mean, as the chair, I don't want to be the one to make the motion, but if I were to make a motion, it would be to table them.
Okay? What he said.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes for the March 21st, 2024 meeting have been tabled. Okay. So, the next item on the agenda is a certificate of appropriateness for a partial roof replacement at 120 North Verity Parkway. Applicant Andrew Went. Is the applicant present?
The applicant is not present.
Do we have a staff report?
We do. So tonight before us, we have a request for issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for the partial roof replacement at 120 North Verity. 120 North Verity is also known as the Chartle House, the former home of the Chartle family for many years, It was acquired by the Middletown Historical Society in 2012. The house was built in circa 1900 and has housed many different owners over the years. As you can see, here is the property off of Verity Parkway. Here's the city building. Here's Middletown Historical Society, and the roof is actually being replaced on the new portion of the building. Doesn't appear as readable as I thought it would, but they're basically replacing the black rubber roofing with a gray composite rubber material. It's going to be very similar to what was there. Visually, all you're going to see is that the black roof, if you can really see anything at all because the roof is fairly flat, but it'll go from a black color to more of a gray color, which would match the rest of the house. This is the portion that is to be replaced. Previously mentioned it's fairly flat. Here's Verity, and the city building is in the back. The scope of work is to furnish the materials, labors, and building permits, and all required insurances to be formed following the project. What they're wanting to do is remove the existing layer of roofing material, replace any damaged or rotted wood underneath, install a poly-iso insulation underneath, and then a Duralast 50 mil membrane and accessories. Once again, this would be gray to match the rest of the roof. Other approvals or permits needed would be a building permit, per the Middletown Development Code, no person owning, renting, or occupying a property that's historically designated can carry out any exterior alteration, restoration, reconstruction, demolition, new construction, or moving of historic landmark or property without first obtaining a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Commission or Development Code Administrator. Any person directly affected by the decision of the Zoning Code Administrator or the Historic Commission shall have the right to appeal to the Planning Commission, provided that a written application for appeal is filed within 20 calendar days after the decision, notice, or order was serviced. The applicant shall submit a completed application for a certificate of zoning compliance within 1 year of the date of COA was approved, or the approval shall expire. The date of approval shall be the date the Development Code Administrator issues the COA. Upon expiration of a COA, a new application, including all applicable fees, shall be required before a new application can be reviewed. Upon written request, one extension of 1 year may be granted by the Development Code Administrator. The applicant can show good cause for a delay. The Historic Commission may authorize alternative time limits for certificate of zoning compliance issuance based on the scale of the proposed development. I did speak with the applicant tonight or earlier today. They were unable to make it for a family situation, or else they would be here. And that ends my staff report. Do you have any questions for me?
All right. There being no questions for staff, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in favor of the application? There being no response, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? There being no response, this public forum is closed. Do we have any discussion amongst the board?
Looks like a replacement of what's there.
All right, there being no discussion, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a? All right, can you please call the vote?
Jennifer Chen,
Yes.
Andy Brickler,
Yes.
Matt Dixon,
Yes.
Rachel Rutherford,
Yes.
Sheila Perkins,
Yes.
Roger Daniel.
Yes.
All right, the certificate of appropriateness for 120 North Verity Parkway is approved. Next item on the agenda is certificate of appropriateness for fence installation and house painting at 804 South Main Street, applicant Ashley Snell. Do we have a staff report?
We do. So tonight we have a request for an issuance of a certificate of appropriateness to repaint the residential dwelling seen below and the installation of a privacy fence. 804 South Main Street is a two-story single-family home built in 1917. It's part of the South Main Historic District. As you can see, it's the second to last home. So the 2.2 request is painting the exterior of the home, Sherman-Williams paint, and putting up a privacy fence, which would be wood with natural, I guess, finish, yeah. So included in the staff packet, I believe, was the colors. If not, those are the colors that they're wanting to paint the house. It's a forged steel, a natural white, and then a hibernate. And then attached on the right-hand side is an email chain that I've been going back and forth with Ashley regarding the fence. So this application was submitted when I was out on medical leave. I never received a site plan indicating where the fence was going to be, nor did I receive an image of what the fence would look like. Typically, I wouldn't accept an application if I didn't have those two. I didn't accept the application. The fee was already paid, and she's promised this date. So we've been going back and forth. I last reached out to her yesterday asking for a site plan indicating where the fence would be, and then also any type of image of what the fence would look like. I didn't receive that. As we know, no person owning, renting, or occupying a property that's historically designated can carry out any exterior alteration without first obtaining a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Commission and Development Code Administrator. The only other permit that would be required would be a certificate of zoning compliance for a fence, which would also require seeing what the fence would look like, as well as the site plan. For an appeal, any person directly affected by a decision of the Zoning Code Administrator or the Historic Commission shall have the right to appeal to the Planning Commission, provided that a written application for appeal is filed within 20 calendar days after the decision, notice, or order was serviced. It's the same time limit as before. That is my staff report. I do not believe the applicant is present. Do you have any questions for me?
There being no questions for staff, is the applicant present? No. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? All right. Is there any board discussion regarding the application?
Do we know if this is a backyard only?
It's,
For the fence,
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
I know them.
We could,
Okay.
we could specify that then if we wanted to, if we approve it, right?
Yes. You can make as many
We
specifications as you
know,
like.
when they say a privacy fence, we talking 6 foot, 8 foot?
Well, they would only be allowed to have a 6-foot tall fence in their rear, side and rear yard.
All right.
So I did speak to the applicant because I personally know them, and it's going to go on the back end of their yard. So they're only going, and not on the side where the Tudor style home is on the right.
They're not trying to fence Betsy out?
Yeah, they're not going to do it. So they only want to do like a portion of the backyard because they have a chain link fence on the back side. So, and that's where the neighbor's backyard is. If that helps.
Would be the distance, you say it's on one of the sides? Do you know
Yeah,
how
it's-
far towards the street?
They're back, not in the front, it would just be in the back.
Yeah.
And it's,
Right.
the way she explained it, it wasn't going to be anytime soon. I don't know.
Now, I'm not an authority on house paints, which was one of the reasons why I didn't particularly want us to have to review them.
Right.
However, it was my understanding that the houses built during the era that the historic district houses were built were not typically painted black.
This one is a gray
It
with
is a
darker,
gray.
even darker trim, isn't it now?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. They don't say which is going to be the majority of the,
Yeah.
The top one, forged steel.
I think the application said, James, can you go up one slide? Said the body of the house will be forged steel and the hibiscus and trim will be natural white.
think it's hibernate rather. than
Hibernate?
biscuit.
Hibernate.
Thank you.
Yeah,
She said is natural.
yeah. So I'm wondering, yeah, what the proportions of that are going to be.
Can you go back to the colors, James, please?
And so I guess there's a bit of a fad for painting the houses now basically black. That, I mean, if the bulk of the house is going to be hibernate, that seems appropriate and not very different from what it is now. But if the bulk of the house is going to be the forged steel and the hibernate is going to be the secondary color, then
For me, on this, I think there's a lot of speculation. I appreciate, Rachel, you haven't spoken to the applicant. I'd almost like to see really what they're trying to do and something, because it seems, we've done this in the past with some of these where we kind of struggle with, hey, what is it? We've said, hey, can it come back, right? I don't want to slow them down the project. Trust me, I understand how these things turn out, but to your point, if they're painting the house black, that changes, if that changes my understanding of it. I don't know if do you know any more about the color of the paint, or,
No, just what you see.
Okay. So, for me, I would say, I'd ask them to come back with more information if they could.
yeah, I really don't think we have enough to even really consider the fence. We could consider the paint, but even that I have questions about.
There was the fence, Rachel, did you say it was just gonna be across the back?
That was my understanding. Just for privacy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be on one side too, isn't it?
Yeah. My understanding, it was not on the Betsy side because there's plants, is what she said. And so it wasn't going to be on that side, it was just going to be on the back and not on the rock.
Probably see the pool.
I mean, I think I might
She
like
likes the
to
view
know,
of the pool.
I think I might like to know about that, more about it. Maybe we approved the privacy fence for the doctor's house, and then it's wrapped all the way around the side of the house, which was not all the way I pictured it from the application, though that may be a failure of my imagination rather than a deficiency in the application, but.
On the fence though, the building permit, they have to give a little bit more details of what we got, right? In other words, if they tried to fence the front yard, that would be against the building code, right?
Well, it wouldn't be against the
Zoning?
building code. I don't think building code comes in until the fence is 8 or 10 feet tall, but for the development code, for zoning approval, if I just received the application that I have now, I would have denied it. I would need a site plan, I would need an image, I need material, height, and location to be able to approve a fence. Like, and as I previously mentioned, I wasn't here when this was submitted,
Okay.
so I wasn't able to talk to the applicant or really gather any information more than what you see here.
Yeah, all we really know is it's gonna be wood.
With a
finished
natural finish.
naturally. We don't know if it's stockade type or picket fence, or we don't really know much
How
about.
high or where it's going to be located on the property and how much of the property is going to be enclosed. I mean, I know that you have more information to give us, but we can't get it.
Yes, basic though, I don't have that much in depth.
All right.
Well,
Do we-
I guess we table this one.
Do we table it, or if we deny it as submitted, does that, because, my fear is, how long
If
ago
we
was this
don't
submitted? What date
yeah.
was this?
April 1st. She would be able to have another meeting.
Okay, that
If
was,
you do deny it, she just has to reapply and pay the fee. If you do a motion to continue, she'll just come back to the next meeting.
Yeah, and the problem is that we've had some difficulty obtaining a quorum for our meetings. And if we don't meet in May, then
As long as they-
June will be too late.
Okay. So we deny. That's proposed.
Or we can table it. I mean,
Oh, no.
I don't want to influence.
No, I agree with you that we don't want to take a chance of not having a quorum.
Okay.
And then it goes in automatically.
So on denying, are we denying because of their color? Is that on the painting of the house? I'm trying to
We are
understand.
denying because we do not have, that basically the application is deficient. does not provide us the information to determine what it is that they're asking us to approve or disapprove.
Okay,
Both for the fence and the colors.
both, because you need more in-depth on what they're wanting for painting. Okay.
I'm torn, do we deny it or do we table it? I hear we've had a form issue. A quorum, sorry, not form, quorum issue in the past. I also feel bad making somebody deny it because we can't hold our own meetings.
Can we deny and then waive the fee for refiling?
I don't have the capability of waiving fees. The only person that I know that does is the city manager. This is an applicant who just purchased a brand-new home. I think it's been purchased within the last month, and they're actively trying to repair a home that has paint chipping and windows up for sale. We saw tall weeds. We saw the house in slight disrepair. I drove by it the other day, and it looks like they are actively trying to make the house
I think they're scraping
home.
the pillars in the front.
I think they would like to paint.
Does anybody know now that they definitely have a conflict for Met?
That's what I was gonna say, you know exactly what I was gonna ask.
No,
All right.
I have no life, so I'll be,
So I'll make a motion to table it until we get more information from the applicant.
And that's basically that we need more information about which of the paint colors is primary and secondary and where they expect to put them on the building. And we need more information about the fence. That's basically in every respect. But if I'm putting your words in your mouth.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's what, we've seen ones, I'm not looking for anything. If they can just put like, hey, this is the primary, this is what it looks like. Either just put the name, you don't have to get crazy. Some people put drawings together. Just give us an understanding of what's your primary base, what's your window trim, what's your accent trim, stuff like that will really help on the paint. And the same with the fence. Just where's it going, how tall, how setback, stuff like that.
All right.
and the general construction of it.
Yep.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Can you call the vote?
Roger Daniel,
Yes.
Shirley Perkins,
Yes.
Rachel Rutherford,
I'm going to abstain.
Matt Dixon,
Yes.
Andy Brickler,
Yes.
Jennifer Chen.
Yes.
All right. All right, the next item on the agenda is for a certificate of appropriateness, banner and door sign for 1310 Central Avenue, applicant Brandy Sanders. All right, so do we have a staff report?
We do. So tonight before us, we have a request for an issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for a banner and a door sign. 1310 Central Avenue is a two-story commercial building, as seen in the bottom right-hand picture. It's within our UCC district. It's within the Central Avenue Historic District. You can see it's here located where the arrow is pointing. And then here's the application. So they would like to hang a banner sign above where the gray space is. You'll see it in the next image. Above the doorway, the banner will display the company logo, phone number, and Instagram name. The banner will be a 4x8, which is 32 square feet, and will be mounted using nails. They'll also would like to have a door sign shown in the next image. So the top left image is where they would like to install the banner. As you can see, there was previously a banner. Top right image is what the banner will look like. I think it's 32 square feet. Bottom left is what an image of a banner sign would look like at that location. And then the bottom right is an image of what the door sign would look like. The banner sign would be approved if it was an historic district right off the bat, and so would the door sign. Once again, no person owning, renting, or occupying a property that's historically designated or in a historic district can carry out any exterior alteration without first obtaining a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Commission or Development Code Administrator. A zoning certificate or certificate of zoning compliance will be required for the installation of the sign, just the wall sign or banner sign, not the door sign. And any person directly affected by a decision of the zoning code administrator or the Historic Commission shall have the right to appeal to the Planning Commission, provided that a written application for appeal is filed within 20 calendar days after the decision, notice, or order was serviced. The time limit is exactly what it was prior, and that ends my staff report, and the applicant is present. Do you have any questions for me?
Would the applicant like to address the commission? All right. If you can, come up to the lectern there and state your name and address for the record and confirm that you were placed under oath at the beginning of the meeting.
Hi, my name is Brandy Sanders, and yes, I was under oath at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay. And your address?
It's 1310 Central Avenue, Middletown, Ohio, 454044.
And not the address of the
Oh, my
property.
physical
Your
address? Oh, I'm sorry, 2075 Valley Forest Drive, Dayton or Kettering, Ohio, 45440.
All right. Is there anything you'd like the commission to know?
So yes, I would like to get the sign and the door decal because this is my first physical business, physical location. It is the first black-owned beauty supply store in the city of Middletown, and I think it will really help drive customers in, especially older adults, as they might not be able to see the actual door decal. So I think the banner will help get the name, the phone number, and our social media pages out there.
All right. Do any of the commission members have any questions for the applicant?
Do you have permission from Rachel Levitt?
Yes, I just got off
Okay.
the phone with her, and I'm about to go meet with her in a couple hours.
Okay.
Okay. So I know in our past, our policy with regard to signs has been to favor more permanent sort of things to more ephemeral construction, and that we tended to refer people to digital visual signs by Keith or the equivalent to have actual signs constructed rather than the banner-like fabric type of materials, which are more subject to weathering and damage and, well, as I say, are more temporary in their nature. And I think we've actually had a debate in the past to the extent that we actually review more temporary things, but to the extent they're attached and are going to remain there for a significant period of time, I think we do treat them as signs rather than advertisement type, like decals and things of that nature. So does anybody have any input on that?
I think there's 2 or 3 others that are just kind of vinyl banner signs that are up there and haven't bothered coming to us in that particular block.
What would I don't know what the cost would be of having somebody paint it, or whether the owner would be okay with that. I have no idea.
I haven't looked too much into like getting anything painted. I do know that the sign material is vinyl, so it is weatherproof. It can, I think the contractor told me it can stay up there between 2 to 4 years. It is weatherproof, so it's not like an actual material that can get messed up by the weather.
See, anybody else have any questions? Anything that you want to tell us in addition based upon the questions you've been asked?
No, thank you.
All right. All right, you can go back and have your seat, Dan. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming in. All right, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in favor of the application? There being no response, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? There being no response, is there any discussion amongst the members of the commission?
I want to make sure I heard you straight. What was the three you said, or?
There are 2 or 3 other businesses that have opened fairly recently. Matter of fact, one of them was in the
Yep.
pictures of the sample here. It's almost next door to this one.
Yep.
And they never came to us.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Some of them have actually gone out of business since then and
Correct.
taken it down.
Mhm.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that that's the ambiguity to the extent that they are temporary, temporary types of advertisements and not business signs being attached to the building, then we don't review them at all.
Mhm.
Well, to the extent that they're intended to be permanent installations, then they are signs and we are supposed to review them. But I know that there's a great deal of ambiguity as to what the businesses can put up in their windows or on the exterior walls before they have to come to us. I'm afraid that some of those that you're referencing may be basically falling in that gap.
And they are, but I like seeing businesses going into these places.
Right.
It's a lot better than a vacant storefront.
Right.
I can't recall an application for a banner type of sign that we have considered and approved, which doesn't mean that we can't. But
I'm not sure.
Could we get creative and just put, it's a temporary banner,
Right.
and put a time constraint on it? To support the business and not have to eat the extra cost, but as the things mature, if we say, hey, it's good for X number, a year, 2 years, whatever we throw out there, knowing that the product from the vendor said it has a life expectancy of that kind of time frame, could we put I don't know how we enforce something like that.
well, ideally, what we would do is say that if we observe that it has fallen into disrepair, or that it would be a violation, and that we would be able to have code enforcement. Address it, but
Yeah, I agree. I want to see the business go in, than an empty storefront, but then also understand that the character of downtown, we don't want banners on every restaurant and business, and that goes down through there, because it would change the character of downtown.
Is there a mechanism for conditions on it, like time?
Well, buildings within this district, or really any commercial building within the city of Middletown, can have a temporary banner sign up to 32 square feet for a certain period of time. I don't know the number of days right off the top of my head. I don't know if that would be sufficiently long enough for this business. But this business isn't, like, when we look at it, especially as the development code administrator, banner signs aren't supposed to be permanent. And one of the things it says is you're not supposed to permanently fix a banner sign to a building. Otherwise, it's no longer a temporary sign. It's a permanent sign. And I had an issue with a business owner in a non-historic district with the same issue. Took 6 months. We got it resolved. But it's kind of, at this point in time, viewed as a permanent sign of a banner material, because they are wanting to, as the applicant states, nail it in. So, I mean, arguably, if you denied it, she could put a banner sign up for a temporary amount of time until she got a new sign or a different sign, or painted it on. There's plenty of different avenues, but
or simply replace it with a new banner every a time period.
right, put it up, take it down, wait a month, put it back up.
Yeah.
But not probably good business practice.
Well, maybe if you had two banners and put one up and then took it down and put the other one up, and
This banner looks like it's more professionally done than some of the ones we've seen in the past.
yes.
Some of them look more like grocery store window covering.
Mhm. Well, we have a mock-up of what a sign of the same sort looks like, and also
See the one
what's
down
supposed to
below,
go on it.
right down below, it says everything only at $5?
Yep.
That's been up there for a year or so,
Mm-hmm,
and I think they're out of business.
yeah.
No,
Is there anything the city can do about removing it? Okay. All right. Well, if there's no further discussion amongst the commission, do we have a motion? Our options are to approve the application, approve subject to conditions, deny the application, or table the application.
I see, can we approve, subject to her coming back 12 months from now with either a more permanent sign?
You've done that in the past.
Do what?
The Historic Commission has done that in the past.
Okay. I guess that would be my proposal,
Okay.
motion rather.
that's your motion?
Yeah.
A year? I'll second that.
All right.
Is that acceptable to you?
Is a year acceptable, or do you want to try to persuade us for a longer period, or? Okay. All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. Can you please call the vote?
Jennifer Chin,
Yes.
Andy Brickler,
Yes.
Matt Dixon,
Yes.
Rachel Rutherford,
Yes.
Shirley Perkins,
Yes.
Roger Daniel.
Yes.
All right. The certificate of appropriateness for, get back to the agenda, for 1310 Central Avenue is approved. All right. There are no further certificate of appropriatenesses on the agenda. Next is new or old business. Is there any new or old business to be reviewed by the commission?
Two items I'd like to bring up that I consider new. One is I noticed that the front door for the First National Bank building there on Main and Central is plywood. I don't know whether the glass is broken or what, or this is just to keep people out. But, you know, if it's gonna be more permanent, I think it ought to be painted black or something. Just raw plywood just doesn't really do much for our town.
I believe that there was an auto accident and that the vehicle struck the,
That is correct.
It's a plan to replace it,
To replace the glass?
yeah. I mean, that building's been vacant for as long as I've been in town, just about.
It's an excellent question. I don't have an answer to it, but I can get back to you.
Okay. And then the other thing I'd like to talk just a little bit about is
You want me to pass them down?
vacant property legislation. You know, we've been talking the last several meetings about not getting notice about buildings falling apart and everything until they're ready to be demolished. Yesterday, Heritage Ohio had a presentation in town here. DMI brought them in about vacant property legislation. And they had Sandusky, Lebanon, and Sydney do presentations. They all have vacant property legislation, administered somewhat different. The way these things normally work, and we have it here in Middletown, but the way it normally works is you start out having to register if you're determined to be an unoccupied vacant building. And the definitions are kind of, you know, you've got boarded windows, broken glass, junk piled up, which is what we've heard on these other buildings. And if you're 50% unrented or more, and the fine for or the fee for registering starts out at $400 for a commercial building, and it doubles every year till it gets up to $6,400 in our case. and for residential, it's half that. Now, ours is only for UCC, essentially downtown commercial district. The other cities that we had presentations for is for the whole city. I was wondering if we could have this for any of the historic districts or the conservancy district, which is where most of our problems are right now, then we could get notification of what's going on. Because one thing they have to have in this is a registered agent that lives either in Butler or Warren counties that can act. And the fines for not living up to the things you have to do, which includes a remediation plan and a bunch of things, including an inspection by the police and fire once a year, and keys for them to be able to get in if they need to. And the fines for not living up to things are $100 per day, a violation. These things normally go against the lien on the building. So they have to, in order to clear the lien, they have to do something. It was adopted, we pushed it as DMI starting in 2012. And then the city came back to us in about 2018, 2019, and they adopted it for 10 years, which is what I gave you a copy of. These are actually ordinances that were passed. So it was done for 10 years, and we got 5 years left on it. But they've never cited anybody for vacant property yet. So anyway, I plan personally on trying to get the city through DMI to adopt this and to expand it a little bit so it picks up the historic districts, partially because of the problems we've been having and discussing here in this meeting.
The dynamics, I think, are difficult. If the owners are present and are going to kick up a fuss, pursuing them is going to basically say, well, then my building is useless.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go away entirely, and the people that are absent are just going to ignore it. And the city is not going to impose the liens or foreclose on them because they don't want to take the liability and responsibility for the properties themselves and have no intention of remediating the properties if they did take them.
Well, I realize there's obstacles, which is probably the main reason it hasn't been adopted so
Yeah.
far. But it's probably in 30 or 40 cities in Ohio. These other places seem to be able to make it work. One of them went from, I think it was 110 vacant buildings down to 30 over a 3 or 4 year period. So, we could stick our head in a hole and kind of ignore it or try to do something.
Well,
DMI is going to be pushing it whether we're for it or not.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as sending out orders of repair and then declaring the unrepaired properties to be public nuisances and taking them to court as public nuisances and getting receivers appointed to deal with the property.
Yeah, well, I think that Sydney, when they were talking, or Sandusky, when they were talking, said they had hoped that they could actually foreclose on properties. And they found that they really couldn't. But they can really hinder any transactions on that property in the future.
Yes, but it kind of means that when you're hindering any transactions on the property in the future, but you are not going to seize the properties, they become unusable.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm just kind of reporting what we're doing. We don't have to take a vote on anything here.
Yeah.
We're not really supporting anything. But this is something I think would help us,
Yeah.
my personal opinion.
I definitely think, I hear both sides, right? I said last meeting is, we volunteer our time, and if we're not gonna do anything, well, why do we sit here and look at things, right? When we have clear violations out there. I'm glad you brought this, because I thought about this a while back, that, I remember them voting this in 2019, I think it was a good thing that, it's gonna drive these buildings to be occupied, and then when you dig around, there's been no fines done or nothing done. Again, why we put an ordinance on the books if we're not gonna be following them? I get there's challenge from a legal
Yeah.
perspective and all of that. But the other thing I would say, is there an opportunity to benchmark these lessons learned that they've done? Sounds like you guys had a conversation yesterday. Is that something that the city, we could get the two cities to talk to? That'd be something I'll bring up to the council.
Several people in the city were invited to that particular meeting. I don't know, I think there were a couple people there, but I got there late myself, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
But what you have to have is a program and funding and staff to administer. I mean, you can't just randomly pick properties and start on them. You're gonna have to have some objective criteria, or people are going to be able to say, well, you're using this ordinance in a way to attack me, whereas these 16 other people that are exactly like me, you are not.
And that's, in looking at Sandusky when they were there, they made a statement that the city is allowed to kind of say this built property is being maintained pretty well, even though it's vacant, and we're not gonna do anything to them. I didn't really think much of that. Now, when this was adopted, I don't know why it was adopted exactly in 2019, but by coincidence, it's probably a year and a half after Vance's book came out, Trash in Middletown, and about a year before the movie came out.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not anything that caused it, but,
So what were the cities that have this?
pardon?
You mentioned some cities that already have this
Uh-huh.
in place. Which cities are they?
Well, the ones that came to the presentation were Lebanon,
Oh, wow.
who just adopted it about 8 months ago, Sydney, and Sandusky. And two of those, Lebanon and I think Sydney, or Sandusky, are administered by the zoning administrator, the maintenance people. But interestingly, Sydney was actually administered by the fire department. And the guy was really for it, because they're the ones that stand to get killed in a vacant building that's dangerous. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that to you.
Okay.
Are we allowed, as a commission, to make a resolution or something asking that the city actually enforce this?
You can make a formal request. One thing I'd like to know is if you could just speak into the microphone. So all these meetings are
Sorry.
recorded, and sometimes when we have lengthy meetings or we
Right.
get into the nitty gritty, sometimes.
I get it.
Okay. You could make a motion. You all could vote for it, and then I just take it to the development committee and then go from there. If you're talking about a resolution that you'd like, that's changing the codified ordinance, so something to take to city council.
Just asking them to, put things into force to actually make it happen.
So with the vacant property registration, that was done with our previous economic development department. The economic development department's in charge. I'm not sure if you remember, but about 2 years ago, our economic development department and our city management wing was completely vacated for a few months. The ball's kind of been dropped at that point in time, and then we have a new person who's spearheading it with our law department. His name's Jacob Schulte. He's our economic development program manager. He's been working with the DMI. He attends all DMI's meetings, and he's been actively working on getting it back up and going. One of the biggest complaints we hear is that what we currently have is not enough to really want to make property owners make a change, because it's just a fee. It's kind of like what we see with anything when it comes to vacant buildings or buildings that are starting to become dilapidated. We go out there, whether you guys know it or not, we write them a notice of violation, then we apply a civil penalty, they pay it off, and then we go until the building is completely dilapidated, and they do a quick claim deed, or the city takes it over, and either we board it up until we can get a prospective buyer, or if no prospective buyer, then it comes in front of you.
I was just hoping that something like this would maybe allow a building to come to our attention before it's
Falling in.
fallen down. So that was really where I was coming from on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as far as you know, things that are required by this, you know, you hear of LLCs, you know, in Texas, owning these buildings and all this sort of thing. They're required to have if they register here, they're required to have a registered representative in either Butler or Warren County. So you have to, and that person has to have authority to, you know, board things up and do remediation that is required. So it goes a little more than just the amount. You know, the amount isn't that much, even $6,400. I mean, it may sound like a lot, but I wouldn't mind doing something on my third floor, but it would probably cost me $30,000 for sprinkler system and cost me $45,000 for HVAC. So, but it would add up. But anyway, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I don't think we need to do anything. DMI is going to push it. And they're going to be meeting with the city, and they'll be pushing at it. But I think it could help us
Just
some
another,
of what we do.
sorry.
It would be good if it pushes some of the property owners to do something.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, and we're not prepared to take another step beyond, I'm not sure that it gets us any further on.
Well, it might give us a warning about a building that's fallen in disrepair,
Yeah,
which we should be able to get now.
along those lines, I was gonna say, is there a way that we could set it up specifically for buildings in the historic districts that would get flagged for those?
You need a new ordinance. This is the UCC core.
But right-
They'd have to pass a new ordinance, but that could be done.
I mean, could it be done
Well-
administratively?
Huh?
No?
Now, part of the reason that these ordinances can be enforced is because they're being brought against commercial properties. It's when you start doing the same sort of things to single-family residences, then there can be complications.
Well, this includes residences in UCC,
Mm-hmm.
which there aren't many. Okay, that's all I got.
Two things I wanted to note. We had the train station, which was a property that we had an eye on that was previously mentioned, that the pillar was falling into disrepair, the brickwork was coming down. I'm not sure if you guys have drove by it recently, but I've stopped all the notice violations on it. It's been remediated. It looks very nice. You can hardly tell where it was. Historic preservation plan, expecting to hear back from McBride probably within the next few weeks. And then I'll share that with you, and then we can go forward with any comments you may have. Once you guys are in favor of the historic preservation plan, then we'll go into another public hearing, or public input session, community input session. And then the YMCA sign, still have not heard back. I'm a little bit surprised that I haven't heard back from them yet, but the letter I did send just went to their tax account. So I've just been going and talking to them consistently. Once again, it's not in the historic district, but it is close, so something I'm keeping an eye on. Is there any properties you guys have that you would like me to either check out myself or have code enforcement look at?
First National's the only thing I noticed.
I think we still need to keep an eye on the U.S. Hotel.
Yep.
Yeah, I parked next to the crumbling brick yesterday. I wasn't sure if I should.
I would like you to look at the Hook Mansion, which is 7 Alameda.
The Hook Mansion?
Yep, and it's 7 Alameda.
Perfect.
They do not live there, and there's some disrepair that is happening to the home. Alameda Circle. Thank you, Andy. Okay.
All right, any other new or old business? All right. There being no additional business to be brought before the commission, do we have a motion?
All
I move that we adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting of the Middletown Historic Commission is adjourned.